Let's go!
Did you see the Eno / Angie Mito moveless showcase? I didn't. Was there anything really worth talking about? The Q&A was good, some hard questions. I did see the fact that they might add rollback netcode into any one of their classic games. I'm gonna tell you right now, chat, the game that is gonna get rollback netcode in some way, if it is gonna be a classic game, is either gonna be BlazBlue Cross Tag or BlazBlue Continuum Shift, whatever the latest BlazBlue game is called. Central Fiction, thank you. But yeah, I've played very little BlazBlue and probably even less BlazBlue. Actually, I played more BlazBlue Cross Tag. They're okay, right? I definitely gave it a good trying chance. It's just the game never really pulled me in. But I think that would be great, right? And if you want to actually talk about a game that can get retrofitted rollback netcode, it's pretty much that and that alone, right? It's either going to be the latest update, the latest version of normal BlazBlue, or BlazBlue Cross Tag. For reasons that are obvious. Number one, Arc System Works actually owns BlazBlue, right? That is theirs and theirs alone, outside of some character rights and stuff like that, you know, from BlazBlue Cross Tag. But they put up the budget to make those games. They put up the publishing. They do all that. So that's theirs. So they can make the choice regarding budgetary concerns to do that. But I see a lot of people are like, it needs to be Grand Blue Fantasy Versus and it needs to be Dragon Ball. I'm going to tell you why the chance of that happening is so low really quick. Arc System Works doesn't pay for those games to get made. Bandai Namco, it's their choice as far as how they want to handle a game like Dragon Ball FighterZ, and that's not up to Arc System Works to retrofit rollback into that unless Bandai Namco puts up the money for it. Now, Grand Blue isn't Xseed. Xseed is the publisher, right? Xseed is like the publisher in the US. Grand Blue is what? Cygames. Yes, Cygames are the ones that put up the money to get the game made. And does Cygames have the money to potentially rollback retrofit it into that shit? Absolutely, but that is not a call from Arc System Works. Arc System Works didn't just come up with that shit. No, they were paid and given a budget from Cygames to come up with that shit. So Cygames calls the shots. They essentially boils down to them how their money is going to be spent. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be happening for Grand Blue or Dragon Ball. I think there's a very small chance. I think there's also a small chance of a game like Guilty Gear Xrd series, like Rev 2, getting it, simply because Rev 2 is a 3D game, and retrofitting rollback netcode into a game that is utilizing a lot of CPU and GPU already, you're essentially having to rewrite the way the game renders a frame, and that is not easy. Ask the Mortal Kombat devs. That took a lot of people, a lot of time to sort of rewrite the pipeline of how the game renders its frames. However, in some games, like BlazBlue, which are not full 3D games where you might actually be able to allocate a lot more resources, GPU and CPU, there might be some wiggle room in their rendering pipeline to actually produce each frame and to manipulate that in some way. Maybe it would still be a holy shit ton of work, but there is a possibility there, right? There is a possibility that some of the BlazBlue games could get that. Isn't Strive 3D? Guilty Gear Strive is 3D, but I'm telling you, they were working on adding rollback to the game from the game's near inception. The only way you can really get rollback netcode into a fighting game efficiently is if you start when the game is early in development. As long as you're not cementing your rendering pipeline of all the frames and how the game is utilizing its GPU and CPU and all that shit, rollback needs to start early on, like early in the game's development as much as possible. And long story short, yeah, we had a pretty good idea that, oh, there's a good chance Guilty Gear is going to be getting rollback netcode. They seem to be painfully aware that people want rollback, and they're not avoiding the question. And this was back, no shit, in like November 2019. If it's presented at the foundation, yeah, making it a part of the game is actually a lot easier. However, going back and retrofitting rollback into a game is significantly more challenging. And if you watch the GDC conference from NetherRealm Studios talking about how they did it with Mortal Kombat X, holy shit. Yes, it takes a lot of effort. You have to rewrite how the entire engine in the game works. It took them 8 months, possibly a few $1 million. Something that a company like Arc System Works wouldn't just be able just to throw out there, right, for anything. KOF 15, do you think KOF 15 is coming out anytime soon? We've seen like 6 characters in KOF 15, and that game is going to have potentially 50 to 60 at launch. You think we're seeing, even if we get a character a week, you think we're seeing that game anytime soon? We're 5 months out minimum? Dude, no, this game is either going to be late 2021 or sometime first quarter 2022. Yeah, and it's still actually listed in early development. There's not even a release date yet. They just say 2021. What you have to realize, chat, is that you being communicated information from developers regarding games, I'll tell you guys this right now. This is probably going to blow a lot of your minds. You being communicated information directly from a developer or a publisher regarding a game does not mean that that decision-making process happened overnight, over the past week, over the past month. No. Development structure of most games, these things are planned out almost years in advance, right? To eventually lead to the point where they want to make the announcement. For example, Guilty Gear eventually got confirmed that it was going to get rollback netcode. They probably made that decision 9 months before they even announced it. KOF had like a very soft reveal that it was going to have rollback netcode. They probably made the decision to start utilizing that stuff most likely in mid-2020, if not earlier. Video games are not a situation where, oh, we made a decision, let's just go with it. Because guess what happens in video game development? Shit doesn't work. And if you told people that that's what you're doing, you're fucked. Like, right? You're super fucked. So the only way you can ever communicate to your audience, here's a character, here's a feature, here's this, here's that, here's a patch. It has to go through so much stuff to make sure it actually works, that it is going to be what they are delivering, to the point where it's practically done, right? Like, this thing we're announcing is practically done. It's just, we've waited a very long time to tell you about it. And that's how video game development is. Especially really, really big games, you know? Like, games that aren't just like indie dev games. Indie devs will do whatever the hell they want, because they're essentially responsible for their own decision-making process. However, that is a completely different situation when you are not the one providing the money to make your game sometimes. You have to also appease board members, right? There's a lot of factors that go into how you make announcements and trailers and reveal information about a game. And all things considered, yeah, you get some situations like Cyberpunk where it goes completely fucking south, and look what happened to that. Look what happened to like No Man's Sky at launch and stuff like that. All things considered, what you're hearing about news-wise in your fighting game, we just saw that Myra and Pyra is going to be in Smash Brothers. That decision for those characters was probably made when the game first came out in 2018. That's how long pipelines take. That's how long it takes managers to get shit up and running, to allocate assets, to allocate workers. That's hard to believe. I'm telling you, that's the way it is. You might not want to believe what I'm saying, but Bandai Namco is a huge fucking company. And if you want to get shit approved, it takes a very long time. Fighter Pack 2 for Smash was at least decided back in 2019, and that's what they're telling you, right? The Fighter Pack 2 by if it was November 19 that we learned publicly, that's when they said that's what it is. You have to realize everything else. They made the decisions to that announcement months in advance that they were gonna, okay, so yes, Fighter Pack 2 is decided. We got this, we got this, we got this, we got this, we got this. Like, right, we got everything done. We're ready to go. But that's not just like, oh, this was our idea, we're doing it, we're gonna get all the approval for it now. Dude, no, like all the approval, all the decision making, all the contracts, everything that they did probably took them about a year to get to the point before they even started making any art or any code. I'm just letting you guys know, decisions for games are made potentially months to years in advance. And not just a month, like several months, like half a year in advance before you guys eventually see it in the public eye. Things take a long time. And it's not just in terms of, oh, how do we code this as quick as possible? How do we just stick rollback in here? We just came up with the idea to put rollback netcode into our game. We're going to talk about it. No, they've been working on that shit for a hell of a long time. They're only talking about it now because it's probably working. Because they can't double back. Oh, shit. We told everyone rollback's in here. We fucked it up royally, and we know we fucked it up. Now we have to spend all this extra money to get it to work, and we don't have that money. What happens? Your game comes out, you said you had rollback netcode, and it comes out and has delay-based netcode. Like the worst kind of situation that could possibly happen. You told your audience something that you couldn't deliver on because you said too early. That shit happens some fucking times, and you guys are aware of it when a lot of games come out and they were just lying about shit. And it's like the worst PR in the world. Like the worst fucking situation for a lot of these developers. Trust me, KOF getting rollback, that decision was made a very long time ago. I just hope it's being implemented in the right ways. If they are, you know, using traditional rollback, I hope they are using Code Mystics, which have done a lot of work and have had great success with a lot of their games using rollback. So long story short, if Arc System Works is even talking about right now, if they're even mentioning the fact that they would like to put rollback into some of their other games at a QA, if one of their big business figures is actually even discussing that at an event, there's a good chance, even though he didn't like commit to say that's what we're doing, even if he's asking about it, there is a good chance they're already doing it. But you have to think about in what way would they be doing it? In what way actually makes sense for them to do it? And that's either BlazBlue Cross Tag or an older BlazBlue game. It would be way too expensive and way too long to put it into something like Guilty Gear Xrd, unless they have suddenly become masters of doing this shit, you know? The thing you really get to look forward to is that the future games that Arc System Works is going to be working on most likely are going to have rollback netcode. What you should be excited about, chat, you should not be like super amped and jazzed that Grand Blue or Dragon Ball is going to get rollback, because it's not. I'm telling you right now, it's not. The chances for it are so astronomically low that Bandai Namco sacrifices the budget for that. I would love it. Or Grand Blue sacrifices the budget for that. No way. However, there's a really good chance that future games will be using it. And you know what that does? You know what something like rollback netcode does? It actually increases the market value of projects that Arc System Works would be taking in the future, right? If you hire, like, let's say I'm Arc System Works, if you hire us to make Dragon Ball FighterZ 2, for some fucking reason, Bandai Namco is out there and they're hunting for a Dragon Ball FighterZ 2 developer. In some weird situation, just imagine that they would hire somebody else to make it, one of the other Dragon Ball devs that makes Xenoshits or whatever. And then Arc System Works is like, hey, this is Arc System Works. We worked on the first game. We did a pretty good job. But guess what? For part 2, we also have now world-class online net play that is severely upgraded from the first game. Now, their value in terms of what they will get paid to make a sequel could potentially go up. They can charge more. They can also potentially charge more to have the game made if the game was successful, which it was. So things like rollback netcode will already, they will already increase Arc System Works' value as a company, which is great. That's good because their games are fucking amazing, and they've made a lot of crazy, amazing, beautiful looking shit over the past like 7 years. So they deserve it. And now, yeah. Now a lot of stuff that they might be getting projects for in the future, you better believe that a lot of devs would be paying attention to them and would now also like to utilize their world-class netcode that they put into Guilty Gear Strive.